This video is produced by Morning Newsbeat and sponsored by REPOSITRAK, the industry standard food safety solution. It long has been a truism that the United States has the safest food supply on the planet. But the Food Safety Modernization Act, bipartisan legislation that had its origins in the George W. Bush administration and was signed into law by Barack Obama, was enacted largely because modern realities about sourcing and importing and other production issues meant that it just wasn't safe enough. New food safety regulations go into effect in August 2015, and it seems evident that many retailers, wholesalers, and manufacturers will not be in compliance. This creates a problem, but it also creates an opportunity. The business opportunity revealed itself when two men from different disciplines, one from government, the other a technology entrepreneur, got together. This is Michael Levitt, former governor of Utah and the Secretary of Health and Human Services during George W. Bush's second term as president. The Bush administration, in part prompted by terrorism concerns, but also aware that the nation's food safety infrastructure was in dire need of updating, decided to launch a major food safety initiative. Secretary Levitt was the point man, traveling the nation and the globe, visiting seaports and trucking terminals and distribution centers.
I came to understand just how much goes into filling up the American pantry every day. And I became persuaded that, in fact, we could no longer treat food safety the way we had in the past. In the past, we had adopted a strategy where we would essentially inspect everything. But there was just too much. We couldn't inspect our way to food safety, and so we had to develop a new strategy. And the strategy was, let's make certain that we have quality at the beginning of the process.
This was a critical shift in mindset. Rather than catching problems after they'd been created, it meant establishing regulations that require every company in the food chain to A, pay attention to their processes, which hopefully they were doing already, and B, create a food supply that is more transparent with more detailed and accessible records about the source of products and ingredients.
It was a very concerted process. Now, when we left office, the new administration came in, concluded the same thing. There's a serious thing we need to deal with here.
The Food Safety Modernization Act was passed by both houses of Congress and signed into law by President Barack Obama in January 2011. It was hailed as the first major food safety legislation to become law since 1938. But passing a law is one thing, implementing it is another, and complying with all the new regulations is something else again. That's when Mike Levitt sat down with Randy Fields of the Park City Group. Appropriately enough, it was over a meal.
So Mike and I are having breakfast, and he asked the question, what does Park City Group do? And I explained that through one of our subsidiaries, ViaLink, that we were the originator of scan-based trading back in the 90s. And the essence of scan-based trading is the capacity to watch inventory movement from a factory to a distribution center to retail stores, etc., monitor the movement of that product, know where it is and how much is there. And that was inherent in our technology. So he asked a simple question. He said, well, could you use that for food safety? And I said, I don't know, but it's certainly worth looking at. Because he said there's a worldwide problem in tracking and tracing products for food safety, and he began to tell me the story of the Food Safety Modernization Act, and here we are.
Where we are is at a critical juncture for the food industry, when companies throughout the food supply chain will be held responsible not just for the safety of the food they sell, but for accurate and detailed records that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration can demand on 24 hours notice.
It's pretty dramatic. It's the most dramatic change in food safety regulation in 70 years. It will touch every business in some way or other, directly or indirectly, that's in the global food supply chain.
And here's the kicker. The new regulations change accountability, so it rests squarely on the desk of the CEO. There can be no dissembling, no pass the buck.
It's Sarbanes-Oxley comes to the FDA.
In other words, attention must be paid. These new regulations begin going into effect in August 2015, with enforcement scheduled to begin a year later. The clock is ticking. So we could send you a copy of the Food Safety Modernization Act, but it's so long and so detailed that you'd probably never get through it. So we're going to do something better. You go to the website address that you see on screen and we will send you a simple one-page fact sheet, everything you need to know about the Food Safety Modernization Act. It'll lay out the basic requirements and the basic regulations. It'll be the first step in understanding this changing regulatory environment. Denial is not an option, and resistance is futile. This video is produced by Morning Newsbeat and sponsored by REPOSITRAK, the industry standard food safety solution.